Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Let stragglers in as we go. Thank you all for joining. This is our first LSM Masterclass. Really excited to get this stuff out to you guys. I think it's going to be very beneficial. And just kind of learning some more about local store marketing and kind of the things and resources we have for you guys. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Rebecca to get us started.
Awesome.
We'll go from there.
Thanks, Jake. So just in case no one knows who I am, or some people don't know who I am, my name's Rebecca Miller. I lead marketing for Beans and Brews, and then I'm sure all of you know Jake, but in case you don't, Jake is he's been around for a lot longer than I have, and is a great steward of the brand. But he is your main point of contact for all things local marketing and new store openings, among many other things. But really excited to have you all here. Jake, if you'll go to the next slide, just a quick look at the agenda for today. There's lots to go through, so much so that, spoiler alert, we're going to actually have a second masterclass in March. So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But we're going to go into why local store marketing matters. We've got some fun raffles for you guys. You must be present to win. So stick with us, but there are, I think, some fun prizes. We're going to talk about how to do a trade area analysis. And if you don't know what that is, no worries. Jake's going to talk about that in more depth. And then how you can use that trade area analysis to do some local store marketing planning and tracking for your stores. We'll have a couple more raffles thrown in there, and then I'm going to take you through what we're calling the Defend Your Turf Playbook, which really is just a nice kind of overview of local store marketing things that you can do in your stores. And then we'll wrap that up with some Q&A and next steps. So with that, let's get started. The first thing I wanted to take you through is just kind of overall objectives for this webinar. So hopefully by the end of this webinar, you'll be able to do all of these things. And that's kind of our goal with this, is to give you the tools to achieve these things. So identify 10 or more potential opportunities around your store to drive sales and traffic. How to prioritize those, we know it can be overwhelming. So we want to help you to prioritize, the things that are really going to move the needle. Using the local marketing planning template confidently. So we've got the template. We'll be sending that out after this call. But Jake's going to walk us through how to build that out. And then ultimately, how do we get to a 30-day activation plan to start? And then after that, I think you'll be off to the races. On the next slide, I just wanted to go into a little bit of detail around why local store marketing is really important, not just for the Beans and Brews brand, of course, but this is something that our competitors are doing. They're really looking at how do we complement what is going on with the National Marketing Fund, which the main goal of that is to drive system-wide awareness as well as sales. But then as you look at local store marketing, that's really where you're going to be driving visits at the local level, guest frequency through loyalty, really building those relationships with the customers in your community. At the end of the day, as long as you're doing these things consistently, that's really where we start to see the efforts that you're doing at the local level really pay off long term. And so I think the theme here is, at the end of the day, both national and local marketing play a very important role. But it's really kind of the power of the two of those things coming together that you really start to see the results. And so not just relying on the National Marketing Fund and the National Marketing Plan to drive sales at the store level. So if you go to the next slide, I wanted to just kind of outline a little bit, because I get this question a lot. It's probably the question I get the most, especially from newer franchisees. But I wanted to make sure it was included here. But just as kind of a reminder, so 3% of your gross sales go into the National Marketing Fund. So this is covering things like your POP and your menu boards, paid advertising across all stores, not just a handful of stores, but all stores, the loyalty program and app. So there's a lot of things that go, the marketing team, there's a lot of things that kind of get funded by the National Ad Fund or the National Marketing Fund. But I think the bigger reminder and the thing I get the most questions about is, okay, well, where does local marketing fall in with that? And so just kind of a reminder that all stores are required to spend at least 1% of their gross sales toward local marketing efforts. So those are the things that we're going to be talking about today is how do you leverage that local store marketing spend to drive loyalty and to drive sales and traffic at the store level. And so we're going to be hopefully giving you all the tools and tips that you need in order to do that. But ultimately, it's really important because we know that our competitors spend anywhere between 4 and 6% of their gross sales on marketing. And so it's really important that we follow suit and that we spend that additional 1% in addition to the 3% for the national fund to make sure that we are staying competitive and being top of mind with our customers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake. He's going to do our first raffle. While he's getting ready for that, because we've been feverishly putting names into a hat. But just wanted to, reiterate, thank you guys so much for being here. And also, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. We're going to hold all questions till the end. I do some Q&A at the end, but please don't hesitate to ask us questions because would love to do that and answer those for you. Jake?
Perfect. Thanks, Rebecca. Yes, so our raffles, we have 3 raffles today throughout the call, and they are all for Alpha Graphics print credit. So these will be applied directly onto your account on the Alpha Graphics print portal. So our first raffle is for a $100 credit, and our first winner is going to be Andrea Kruth from Beans 4101, Colorado Springs. Congratulations, Andrea. Like I said, this is going to be automatically applied to your account. So after this call, I'm going to notify Alpha Graphics of all of our winners. And so that will be automatically applied. So next order you place through the print portal, you'll have that $100 credit. So stay tuned for the other 2 raffles later in the call. Okay, perfect. So next part of the LSM Masterclass is the trade area analysis. So I kind of wanted to walk everyone through a very simple, kind of quick trade area analysis that anyone can do with not a lot of tools. So when thinking about your trade area, you really want to think a little bit wider than just the direct vicinity around your store. I think it's very easy to think that just, the parking lot around your store is your trade area, but it can actually extend out to 5-10 minutes away from your store. I typically like to think of it as like 0 to 3 miles away. So with a trade area, you want to think about where your guests live, work, gather. It's not just a radius, so you want to think of like behavior patterns. So morning commute routes, lunch clusters where people are going to work, where people are stopping for lunch, where people are gathering. And then afternoon and evening activity hubs. So think like the park, golf courses, things like that. With this picture here, I have just a very quick example. And throughout these next few slides, we're going to be using House 117 as our example here. This is just a less than 1 mile radius around, and this is taken from Google Maps directly. I was able to identify, 4 big points of a good trade area around. So we have Westminster University, a couple business complexes, Sugar House Park, which is a very popular and busy park during the warmer months, and then a golf course as well. So when you think about a trade area, you want to, target these different areas around your location that you could utilize as drop points for coupons, signage, all of that stuff. And then throughout the call here, we have our Turf Talk questions. These are just questions to kind of ask yourself while you're going through this exercise of, how can you better your LSM efforts? So This one for trade area, we have where do your morning guests differ from your afternoon guests? So yeah, as we go through Turf Talk questions, they're kind of just fun questions to ask yourself as you go through the exercise. Um, so when conducting a trade area analysis, you want to identify locations where people already gather, kind of like I mentioned. So schools, colleges, hospitals, offices. You can get out of the box and think of like gyms, salons, churches. But you also don't want to ignore seasonal events, sports leagues like high school sponsorships, farmers markets, different things like that. Those all fall into your trade area, and you want to make sure that you keep an eye on those things. So where you can research these is Google Maps, like I said before. It's a very important tool and easy to use. You can just look around on your Google Maps search radius. You can also go to your Chamber of Commerce site locally through your city. Facebook community groups are also a great resource. City event calendars, specifically for those like events, like I said, like the farmers market, and different things around your town. And then school district websites, find out when, high school sponsorship games are happening, things like that. So Turf Talk question for this slide is, where does our brand naturally fit into your community? I like this one because you want to think about where Beans and Brews fits in. Not every, place or thing in your trade area is going to be fitting for the brand. So you want to make sure that it makes sense, and it would make sense for a Beans and Brews coupon or sign to be put up in this area and utilized. So not everything is a perfect opportunity. So we kind of get into that on this next slide here. This is a more detailed kind of roundabout way of going through that House 117's trade area analysis. So on here, I kind of categorized everything into different categories. So we have schools, universities, office and business clusters, community and traffic drivers, so like parks or different areas, and then also commuter and drive time corridors. So you really on this makes it easier to kind of round everything together and be able to know exactly what's in the area. So as you can see here for 117, they have 4 to 5 schools immediately in the 0 to 3 mile radius. And so on here, I kind of categorized everything and then also put opportunity ideas for each kind of different category. So with the 4 to 5 schools, opportunity ideas for those, teacher appreciation partnerships, student discount promos, campus event pop-ups. You could also go out to the school and drop off coupons, different things like that. For the office and business clusters, you could do office drop-offs, gym partnership promos with a protein coffee, cross promotion with local retailers. So you could trade coupons with another local business in your area, things like that. Community and traffic drivers. So like I said, for 117, they have Sugar House Park. They also have another park very close by. Both of those parks frequently have farmers markets, different events. So thinking of doing signage during those events, going out to the park, doing samples. You could also do, local social posting, pick some days that you could do a park pick me up campaign. So yeah. And then also you want to think about your commuter and drive time corridors, where all of your customers are driving in from, and target those areas with some extra signage, some different things to draw some attention. I like laying out a trade area like this and be able to categorize everything, because it allows you to kind of make it a little bit more simple and be able to see the wide picture and see, allows you to come up with ideas that may not always be apparent. So yeah. And then next slide, I like to get into the tracking of this. So with LSM efforts, you definitely want to track everything as much as you can, because that allows you to identify where you are seeing success, what's not working as well, and how you can go about, future campaigns. So with this call and after this call, we're going to distribute a simple template tracker that allows you to track your LSM efforts. So on that template, it helps centralize your trade area insights, your planned activations, It allows you to track your dates and who is owning the LSM effort, as well as your results and your learnings. So why tracking matters: it improves your future decisions. It allows you to identify what worked well, what you could improve on as well. And it also identifies repeatable wins. If, dropping off coupons at an office worked really well for you, why not try it again next month, or try something similar with a hospital in the area or a school in the area? So yeah, tracking is very important. Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I was just going to add in that it's also a great place to kind of, it be your source of truth in terms of all of your different local marketing contacts, how much you're spending, so that you can kind of track towards that 1%. So I would definitely encourage you to, kind of keep everything in this one place, so that whether it's the person managing local marketing, or if that for whatever reason changes, it's all of that information is in one place.
Yes, definitely. And like I said, this template is very simple. It's optimized to be as simple as possible, but you can also add extra tabs on there for yourself. As you go through and as you learn what matters and what's trackable for you. So like I said, this template will be sent out after the call. But all of these resources and all of this information is always going to be available on the admin site under the local store marketing tab. So you will also be able to find it there in case, you lose the email over time. So, and with that, we are on to our next, oops, sorry, I just skipped way ahead. Our next raffle.
Awesome. All right. Before I give out the $150 credit, I want to just give a shout out to Alpha Graphics. They were kind enough when Jake and I went to them and said, hey, we want to do some fun raffles, and that they offered us these credits. So just wanted to say thank you to them. All right, so drum roll, please. Our next raffle winner is Sherry Nelson from 3801. Congrats, Sherry. Like Jake said, this will automatically be in your Alpha Graphics account. So next time you go to order something, you will have $150 credit. All righty. Let's keep going. So I wanted to introduce you guys to something that we're calling the Defend Your Turf Playbook. So I think Jake did a great job of, helping us to understand, how do I identify opportunities in my trade area, or the area kind of around my store, and how do I start to really think about planning for to do some local store marketing in my area. But this playbook really is kind of intended to be a one-stop shop of, all of the, kind of getting into even more detail around how you plan for local store marketing. We initially intended it to be a playbook or a guide if you have a new competitor coming into your market, and then it kind of morphed into something so much more and better than that. In that this is great for really just, like it says, defending your turf. So whether it's a new competitor coming in, or you're really just starting to see a softening of sales, or you feel like an existing competitor is stealing share from you, this is a great playbook to reference. As with everything else, we're going to make sure to post this on the admin site, and you'll get this in an email as well. So just to kind of to dive in, like I said, this is really all about maintaining and growing your share for your store within your market. And so there's a lot of different things that we're going to go through with this, including how do we, retain your existing guest, intercept those guests that are maybe thinking about going to a new competitor, really owning the local coffee conversation. Social, I think, is going to be a really big part of that. Promote what makes Beans and Brews different. So we're going to go through all of these things so that you've got the tools that you need to defend your turf. So these are we really wanted to kind of synthesize the core pillars of really just the things that you can talk about for Beans and Brews that set us apart from everybody else. There's a lot of coffee places out there, as you guys know. And so, we need to make sure that, the messages that we're putting out there are going to break through. And so we kind of synthesized everything here onto one slide. And so I'll quickly go through those. Signature drinks We know that, there's a handful of drinks, especially, like Mr. B's, for example, that only Beans and Brews has. And so we want to make sure that that's something that we message because it really is one of our key differentiators. Loyalty and rewards, especially given how value sensitive people are right now. But being able to kind of promote the free coffee with sign up, that is a great value and it's a really great sign up offer. Because, and I think as you guys know, the more people that we can get into our loyalty program, the better, because then we can have a more one-on-one conversation with them and feed them offers and messages that are tailored to them. And so we want to try to get as many people into our loyalty and rewards program as possible. Plus, there's really great incentives for them to being a part of the rewards program. That local connection, we've got the best baristas out there. We've got our community boards. We want to be a big part of the community, and we know that that goes a long way in building that loyalty. And so that's definitely something that we want to message as we're thinking about defending our turf. Speed and convenience. Of course, we've got drive-throughs in a lot of our locations, mobile ordering, and we're continuing to improve our digital experience. So I think that's something that we should and can message. And this probably, now that I look at it, probably should have been number 2, but our high altitude roasting experience, the fact that we roast our beans at altitude, that is something that nobody else really does, or at least they don't talk about it. But it really does provide a better taste, a better texture. And so we want to make sure that we're highlighting that as well. And so this is definitely something that we're doing from a national standpoint, but wanted to just make it really easy for you guys as you're thinking about, different flyers and signage and social posting and things like that, that these are really the kind of key 5 messages that we want to get across. The good news with all of this is that a lot of this creative already exists today. So this isn't necessarily something that you're now going to have to go do on your own. On the admin site, there is a whole slew of creative and marketing materials that are ready to be downloaded or printed. And so that's something that is there for you, leveraging these different talking points. And then, as always, if there's something that we don't have that you want, just let us know. That is actually funded by the marketing fund. So part of your 3% allows access to our graphic designers, so that if you want a local piece or something custom, then all you have to do is reach out to us and we can help work through that. Just make sure you give us a couple of weeks, because sometimes those requests pile up. So we need to make sure that we give the team enough time to execute that. All right, so if you go to the next slide. As you can kind of see, there's, at the end of the day, there's endless possibilities when it comes to different local marketing tactics and activations that we can put out there. So like I said before, we're really trying to kind of streamline this for you. And so these are some of the initial ideas that we came up with, and the things that we think are probably most high impact. And as you guys know, there's often a level of complexity with executing different tactics like this. Some are lower complexity than others, and some have a higher impact than others. And so I think it's important to really look at, what are the things that are achievable for you and for your store and make sense, and what are the things that are really ultimately going to deliver the best impact. And I think that's really, really where it gets important to prioritize. It's easy to come up with a long list of tactics, but at the end of the day, we've got to prioritize the ones that we want to start with, and kind of take a test and learn approach, and then continue on with the ones, like Jake said, that appear to be working. If we go to the next slide, getting kind of even more specific, there's a lot that we can do, from, how do we get people's attention, to how do we intercept traffic from, especially when a new competitor is coming in, and then ultimately, how do we activate loyalty? So it's kind of really like a funnel. And so from an external signage standpoint, I love the idea of accepting customer or competitor coupons. So let's say you've got a competitor offering a BOGO or a free drink with, food purchase or something like that, saying, hey, we'll accept that Starbucks down the street. We'll accept their their coupon, just bring it to us. I worked at Smoothie King for several years. We did this a lot and it was very successful for us. So it's kind of just a way of saying, hey, don't forget about us. We're here. We know those other guys are too, but you should come to us. And I think pairing that with some thank you signage is also really great. So just some kind of initial ideas. From a local marketing standpoint, flyer drops are always great. They don't take a whole lot of time. They're not expensive. Sponsoring events at, a local school, or maybe even going after the sponsorships that a competitor might be doing. And so there's a lot that you can do, just like we're planning a grand opening event. So, how can we trump their grand opening event by doing something on our own? And then from a customer advocacy standpoint, some of it's just a matter of referrals. Like, hey, you seemed like you're a recurring customer. We love that. We love that seeing you in here every morning. Be sure to tell a friend. You can do this live or in social. And I think in giving our baristas those talking points is really important, especially as we're really trying to kind of cement Beans and Brews as part of the local community. So wanted to just give an example. Jake talked a lot about, okay, how do you identify some of the opportunities in your trade area, and then what do you do about it? And so in this case, a very just simple example. So in this case, we said, okay, we've identified that our made up store is having really slow Tuesdays, specifically in the afternoon. We know that there is an office park within, a little bit more than half a mile from our store, because we did that as part of the trade area analysis. And so some different options that we could do in terms of action. We could get with Jake and get a flyer or coupon and do a drop at our offices. So whether that's something that we already have or you want to create something custom, we're here to help you with that. So you're not on your own. Doing something local in your local social page and talking about that. And then doing some in-store signage, all of which we can help you with. And so ultimately the result that we all hope for there is increased Tuesday transactions, new recurring office orders. And then, we've learned a lot and now we kind of know what, did it work, did it not? And we can go and apply those learnings in the future. So I think the key insight here is, you can start small. You don't necessarily have to go do it all. I know it feels a little overwhelming at times, especially because you've got 100 other things going on. But ultimately, we're here to help you. You don't have to go crazy. You can start small, start simple. And then it's really about just testing and learning and trying new things and then sticking with the things that are working. And then I think if you stay consistent, you're going to see that sales momentum continue to build. And then just to wrap up our Defend Your Turf playbook, like I said, we'll have this all online and email it to you as well. But I hate to oversimplify it, but the 4 really kind of simple steps: know your trade area, choose your 2 or 3 priorities, start small, be consistent and repeatable. So test and learn, and then do it again. And so, and like I said, I'll just continue to reiterate that we're here to help you do this. And some of our turf talk questions for this one: does this help me win in my neighborhood? That really should always be a filter. I can't tell you, and this is myself included, I can't tell you how many times I go down a rabbit hole on an idea or something, and then I take a step back and I'm like, is this really going to help drive sales? Or is this really going to help Beans and Brews win? And is this really going to move the needle? And I think sometimes just kind of taking that step back and using that as a filter is really helpful. And don't hesitate to use me and Jake as that filter as well, because between the 2 of us, we've done it all, and we're happy to provide some insight there.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. Now we are to our last raffle of the day. And let me grab the winner real quick. We are doing Melanie Jorgensen from the 1300s for our last Alpha Graphics print credit. Congratulations, Melanie.
I love all the little hand claps. It's cute.
Some nice reactions. Okay. And that moves us into our Q&A portion of the call. So yeah, if you have any questions or have any comments, anything you'd like to discuss, we kind of want this to be like an open discussion. So even if you have best practices, stuff that's worked for you in the past, please share in the chat, and me and Rebecca can answer any questions you may have.
Jake, while everybody's doing that, why don't we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
So don't feel like you're going to interrupt me by adding a question into the chat, but just so we don't have awkward silence. I just have a couple more slides as kind of a next step, but just as a kind of a recap that we just talked about, complete your trade area analysis, build a 30-day LSM plan using the template. I think it's important. We didn't really talk about this, but choose someone, or it could be multiple people at your stores, who's really going to own this for you. Because if you don't have someone owning it, it'll never get done. I think we all know that. And so it's important to kind of assign leadership on that, and ultimately pick somebody that's passionate about it, that likes to do marketing or likes to go out into the community, likes to interact face to face with their customers. And so, like I said, it's just really important to choose someone to own this for your store. Otherwise, it'll always just kind of not get done. Align on budget. Use that tracker to track that. Remember, the target is 1% of gross sales. I've been doing this restaurant marketing for over 20 years, and there really is kind of a sweet spot when it comes to what you're spending at the local level. And so that 1% is not just a made up number. It is a tried and true target. And then, as always, contact Jake or me with any questions or if you need any help. We did a lot in the last year to kind of reorganize the marketing team to make sure that we have someone dedicated to helping our franchisees and our corporate stores with local marketing, and that is Jake. And so please do not hesitate to reach out. And then I think I mentioned this, but we are going to do a second webinar in March, because as Jake and I were going through this process, we realized there's so much more that we want to cover with you. So if you go to the next slide, and then we'll answer all these questions. This is what you can expect for the second webinar. We're going to have it on Thursday, March 19th at the same time. But we're going to be going deeper into social media best practices. Rachel's going to be joining us for that. We are launching localized app and loyalty campaigns. So we've gotten this request a lot where, a franchisee or a corporate store is like, hey, I really am struggling Tuesday afternoons. What can I do? Can you help me? Can I do something with email and the app? And so Carrie's working on a program that we'll be launching on March 19th. We're going to go a little bit deeper into the Alpha Graphics portal just to make sure that everybody knows how to use it. And then, of course, we'll have some real examples. We'll have to cook up some even better prizes for this next time around. And then please don't hesitate. We, can schedule more of these. We can add to the one on March 19th. But if there are topics that you want to cover that we don't have here, please let us know.
Yes, definitely. Okay, we have a couple questions that have popped into the chat. The first one with Lizzie, a great question about local marketing, especially for our Utah stores, since we do have so many locations nearby each other, and how we can target specific stores. It's a great question and a great point. We can target specific stores by, dialing all the way down into the local area. So whether that's through signage around the store, or also, coupons, we can obviously tie them specifically to a location. Also, like we said on the next webinar, with the new localized app campaigns, those are going to be tied specifically to one location as well. So because there are so many stores in Utah, I don't want anyone to think that local marketing isn't needed. It's definitely needed in every area. And it's very important to, get out into the community and show your support for the community, and utilize that local marketing instead of just depending on the national marketing or just the sheer number of stores in Utah to accomplish that for you. Rebecca, do you have any other kind of insights?
No, the only other thing I'd add is don't hesitate to team up with your with stores down the street from you. especially if there's overlap from a trade area standpoint, say like at a local high school. Because one, it
Definitely.
helps to cut down on the amount of work. And it's nice to share a budget with somebody else. But yeah, I would just say, if you've got like Utah as an example where you've got a higher penetration or concentration of stores, don't hesitate to team up because sometimes that can just make it even better.
Yes, definitely. Uh, Next question from Sherry. For community events, recommendations besides handing out coupons and samples, do you recommend selling things as well, like swag or pastries? Definitely something that we could look into. As far as selling things outside of the store, there are some, some capabilities that we don't quite have as far as our POS technology and all of that. But as far as I always recommend giveaways, as far as local events, you could always give away things like swag or just different tumblers, stickers, and pairing that with a coupon to get them to bounce back into your store, I find is the best way to go about it. As far as selling things, unfortunately, I don't think we have the capabilities for that quite yet. But maybe soon, once we transition fully to our new POS platform, which I know we're working on. So um,
Yeah, the only thing, just a couple things to add. I think, just being present at these community events is great, but you could
yep,
always take it a step further and maybe become an official sponsor, for instance, where either they allow you to set up signage or you're a part of the you have a commercial played which we can get you on the big screen at a sporting event, or they mention Beans and Brews in the on the loudspeaker. So there's a lot of other things that you could do. I think it's just a matter of oftentimes asking what other options there are. And a lot of times they may exist, or they may say, this happens to Jake and I all the time, like, well, what do you want? Maybe we could just create it. And so I wouldn't hesitate to ever ask. I think to Jake's point on selling things, I generally agree. We are working on some things in the background, POS related. We also, I think we mentioned this on the last town hall call, but we're also working on catering, and we've got that a new catering menu testing in several stores right now. It's been going for a month or two and going really well. And so I definitely think that in the future will help as we think about selling, doing kind of more offsite events and food and drinks for bigger groups. Let me talk to Lizzie too, because I have a couple of ideas for maybe a workaround of this not maybe working in our POS. So Lizzie, let's you and I connect offline. And I was going to throw them out here, but I also don't want to like open up a big can of worms. And then she's like, no, because I'm just a marketing person, not the operations person. So I have a couple of ideas there. So I'll follow up with Lizzie on that after our crawl.
perfect. We also have another question from Carrie, kind of off of both of those that we already went over, but how do we market to people that do not know beans as we are the first in the area? Um, that's a great point. With the Defend Your Turf playbook, that's kind of the intention of the entire playbook is we have built in some messaging and some signage and specific things created for our new markets to teach people about Beans and Brews and why we are different and why we are better. So like we said, all of our signature drinks where you can only get at Beans and Brews, highlighting those, highlighting the high altitude roasted coffee, and just the cozy atmosphere, our friendly baristas, all of that. So a lot of the Defend Your Turf playbook, which we did go through quite all of it today. Once you see the document up on that's shared after this, you'll kind of see a little bit more in depth about the messaging and different things that we have, as well as also the signage and different things we have created to kind of go along with that as well.
Yeah, and I will say this has become, especially as we are entering new markets like Texas, for instance. When I first started, which was a little over about almost a year and a half now, that was actually one of the first things that Jake and I tackled was, hey, the messaging for a store that's in Texas is going to be very different from the messaging and the activations that we do in Utah, for instance. Because instead of just letting people know, hey, we have a store here, you already are familiar with Beans and Brews, we really truly are introducing this brand to people for the first time. And so, like Jake said, we have a lot of materials and ideas that already exist out there, so you're not having to reinvent the wheel. And we would highly recommend, especially for new stores and very much for new stores in lower penetrated markets, that you do some paid media. And that's something in addition to what we're doing on a national level. And that's something we can help you with too. I mean, literally, we try to make it as turnkey as possible. So if you are feeling like, hey, I just don't feel like I have the awareness that I need to, or the sales that I need to, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we are here to, this is what we're here for. Is to make you successful. And so we can do some incremental paid social. We could do some direct mail. We can do some paid Google and mobile display ads. There's a lot that we can do to drive sales to your location and specifically, and get very, very targeted with around like a 3 mile radius of your store. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we can definitely work with you on that.
Yes, definitely. Also, a second part of that question for Carrie, accepting credit cards and sell beans at an event. Hopefully more information coming soon on that. Hopefully we can get somewhere where we can do that, but not quite yet. Let's see. A question from Sherry Larson. What kind of marketing have you seen work well for both high schools and colleges? This is a great question. I know a lot of our stores are very nearby, high schools, or we also have a lot of them near universities and colleges. So what's worked well in the past, we have done a lot of, just different coupon and flyer drops at schools, targeting students themselves as like, come study with us, get a drink and a sandwich half off, those types of messaging. But also, to Rebecca's point, kind of what we just talked about, the paid media. I think paid media is a great way to target the younger demographic, especially high school and college age students, especially with like something like a social media ad. We could run a quick social media ad, target the school radius themselves, also students in the area, and target them, with a specific offer, like a study time offer of, half off a drink and a sandwich. Or we could, just tailor the creative and the different messaging towards come in for study time, great study break afternoon in the, Nephi area, those types of things. So there's different stuff we can do as for high school and colleges. I think that if you want to go super simple, something like a flyer or a coupon drop is a great way to do it. But there's definitely more we can do with paid media and getting the message out externally as well.
Yeah, I love that, Jake. And to maybe to take it even a step further, I've done it with brands where we give a discount to students with a student ID, or maybe even students and teachers with an ID. If we've got, one really close by. And so, maybe it's, hey, from 2 to 4, come get X deal. And with showing your ID. I think too, a lot of these high schools and colleges are looking for partners and kind of more formal like sponsorship help, but it often doesn't cost very much money to do that. And once you have that in, then you're on their list for catering opportunities, for, events that you could attend, things like that, signage that you can hang, presence at a sporting event. And so oftentimes just kind of having it in and being, a sponsor even at a low investment level, kind of gets you in and opens the door for being a part of that community. And so there's a lot, I could keep going on and on and on. So happy to talk more about it, but those are some of the ones that kind of come to mind initially.
Yeah. Carrie shared a really great example of something she's done at her store of baristas when they go to class at a local college. They see someone carrying a competitor's cup, they give them a coupon to come to Beans. I think that's a great idea. It's a great way to get your baristas involved, especially if, they're younger, they're going to the college classes, they're going to the high school classes, they're in the community there. So having that word of mouth and, adding in a promo and offer like that is a great way to capture some, competitor share as well. So I really like that.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Well, we're here, so just if you come up with a
Yes.
question after this, feel free to reach out to Jake or I, and then
Yes,
obviously
please.
Rachel, who leads our social team, and Carrie, who leads our digital marketing team, are also here. But we look forward to seeing you all on the March 19th call. And like Jake said, all of this will be emailed to you and posted on the admin site. So if you didn't have someone attend that you want to, or you want to pass this on to someone, maybe it's the person that you're going to assign to own local marketing for your store, make sure that they have all of this great information. Please do that. Hope you guys
Yes.
have a great rest of your day.
Thank you guys.